it's a lot of speculation right now, but, there's some signs that something could be going on here. And what it is that Trevor Lawrence, the superstar quarterback for Clemson, and you are hearing scouts saying this guy is the best quarterback prospect since Andrew Luck. Some guys are saying he's a can't miss, which you rarely hear at the quarterback position. And so he looks like the obvious number one. Obviously, Justin Fields at Ohio State is playing well with the emergence of guys like Kyler Murray. Do somebody want Justin Fields? But it looks like Trevor is going to be the number one pick. And right now, there's some bad teams out there, but none worse than the New York Jets. And they have an 0-7 record, and right now they'd be the top pick. Now, Cincinnati obviously doesn't need a quarterback, but they got one win. Houston doesn't need a quarterback. They got one win. Jacksonville's got one win. The Giants, they got Danny Dimes, but
I don't know about Danny Dimes, Chris. They got one win.
Yeah, right.
Are you sold on Danny Dimes?
Turning it over. No. I'm about as sold on him as I am on Darnold. You know what I mean? Like they both have. At one point, you thought maybe, okay, this is the guy, but as time's going on, they haven't gotten it done. Minnesota 1-5, Atlanta 1 win. So it's not a done deal that he would go to the Jets, but right now they are clearly in the driver's seat because they actually look like they could go winless. We don't, I'm not predicting it, but it certainly looks like a possibility.
I'm going to say, as somebody who covered that Lions team, Chris, who went 0-16, and I remember being on First Take with Skip, and they were like 0-7 or 0-8, and he just was like, no way are they going to go 0-16. And I said, Skip, I cover every game, man. This team is bad. I think the Jets have a real shot. If I had to predict right now, Chris, I think they go 0-16. That's how bad this team is.
Wow. Well, Trevor Lawrence thinks they're bad, too, if you read between the lines. Here's what he said when he was asked if he's definitely coming out into the draft next year. Remember, he's only a junior, so he doesn't have to come out. Here he is.
Kind of my mindset's been that I'm going to move on, but who knows? There's a lot of things that could happen. God has a plan for me no matter where that is, no matter where I go, whether that's across the country, whether that's close to home, where I stay another year, no matter what it is, we'll work it out.
All right. He also said he would, wait, something to the effect of, we'll wait and see how things play out and see what's going on. That says to me, you're waiting to see who gets that number one pick. And here's my thing, Rob. And look, he would not be the first guy to do this. And for some guys, this really worked out handsomely. Eli Manning didn't want to, he's drafted by San Diego. He was saying before the draft, and once they picked him, I hope they trade me. I don't want to play here. He gets traded to the Giants, wins two Super Bowls. The rest is history. John Elway, drafted by Baltimore, Colts at that time, didn't want to play there. He gets traded to Denver, 2 Super Bowls, 5 trips to the Super Bowl. The rest is history. And there's a handful of other guys. Bo Jackson didn't spurn Tampa Bay. There's guys in basketball, Steve Francis, Danny Ferry, on and on and on. So it doesn't always work out. But
I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, because
right. It doesn't always work out. Now, remember, this was the conversation a year ago, Rob. Well, not quite a year ago, but with Joe Burrow.
Yes, people were saying he shouldn't go to that organization, and they stink, and blah, 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 and all that other talk. And first of all, we thought that they were doing a disservice to the Bengals. And Chris, we get it. They didn't win a playoff game, right? But they went 7 times.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Like, they weren't always
Absolutely.
in last place. So that was unfair. And they went to the Super Bowl twice, that organization. Lost to Joe Montana, right? And
their history's not nearly as bad as some other teams. Yeah.
Exactly. So sometimes
Absolutely.
I think people are a little quick. I just don't like it. I don't think that should even be out there. And I remember when Matt Leinart did it and he wanted to go back to USC. And you know what, Chris, I don't know. It didn't wound up not working out for him. Instead of being the first overall pick, he wound up being the 10th pick the next year. All you can do when you go back to college and if you play is they find more flaws in your game. You could potentially get hurt, and you'll cost yourself some money. I mean, the thrill of being the first overall pick, and to think that you know for sure, I don't care what insurance policy you take out and all this, it's not the same, and you should never do that. What if you're the guy who goes to New York and they draft you and they trade Sam Darnold and go pick up, Chris, some other good players, right? And you win, and you're Broadway Joe, and you're the one who captures New York and becomes that quarterback, and they win a Super Bowl, and it's no longer talked about 1969 and Joe Namath. That's a wonderful thing to be out in front of, and so when guys do that and want to manipulate it, and I know what Eli did and those other guys, and that's fine, Chris, but that's not to say that Eli doesn't know if he went to San Diego. Maybe he would have won down there. He could have won 3 times in San Diego. I don't know. But I don't like it.
I'm with you. I just think, look, here's the thing, too, about the Jets. You kind of brought it up about the Bengals. Okay, yeah, the Jets, they haven't won a Super Bowl since 69 with Joe Namath. And, yeah, they've been horrible for the most part. But they have had some runs, right?
With Rex Ryan.
But Rex Ryan, they were in the AFC Championship game a few times.
Twice.
Right.
Chris, that wasn't 40 years ago.
Yep, exactly. Mangini had a nice year there, didn't he, with Favre? Parcells had, with Vinny Testaverde, they had a nice little run.
They went to the AFC Championship game against Denver and lost.
Right.
Yes.
So it's not like they've been feudal for 40 years. They've actually had some pretty good teams. That's number one. The other thing is, I am with you, Rob. Look, I'm not going to kill, Elway, Eli. It worked out for them. But you're right. Maybe it would have worked out in Baltimore for Elway. Yep. He was great. I'm sure he probably would have lifted that team to respectability, if not beyond that.
And Chris, that organization, the Baltimore Colts, had a storied franchise history, with Johnny Unitas.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And so, my makeup is you kind of play the cards you're dealt. And if I'm the best player in the country and I'm going to be the number one pick, I'm probably just looking at myself. I'm probably going to where I'm picked. And I would try to look at it like I'm going to turn this franchise around. I'm going to be the guy. And look, it's early, Rob, but look at Joe Burrow. The dude is running for his life every other time he drops back to throw the ball. But he's still lighting up the NFL and looks like he's going to be a star. Who's to say Trevor Lawrence can't do that? If he's as good as we think, he will do that.
And maybe Joe Burrow is the guy who finally wins them a playoff game after all that time when Marvin Lewis couldn't get it done, Chris. I just, like that stuff, I don't understand, like believing in yourself. No matter what team you go to, Chris, they're normally going to be bad because that's why there's a draft. That's how it works out. So if it's not the Jets, then you're going to the Giants or you're going to some other bad team, right? That's how it works out. You're not going to the Green Bay Packers or to the Kansas City Chiefs, and you wouldn't want to go to the Kansas City Chiefs because there'd be no job for you, right?
Yep.
I don't get it.
Nah, you're right. Look, what was New England before Tom Brady turned them around with Belichick? They had been to one Super Bowl. Steve Grogan got beat. Like, they weren't any great franchise.
That's how you build your name, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree. And look, in fairness to Trevor Lawrence, we don't know what he's thinking. And it's not just us. Everybody, all over television, all over radio, they're speculating that he seems like he doesn't want to go to the Jets. So we're with the many. But in fairness to him, maybe that's not what he's thinking about. But I will say this, Rob, he's graduating this year. So what in the world is the incentive to go back? You won a national championship already.
I wouldn't do it. I'm with you, Chris. I just wouldn't do it. I think it's a big risk. There's no reason to do it. When I graduated college in 3 years, I was out, Chris. I was out.
He could do the I'm going to demand a trade or I'm not playing. You know what I mean? That type of thing. He doesn't seem like that guy. But, hey, did Eli seem like that guy? No. So
but that was Eli's dad who had played in the league, though.
Well, because Archie knew
right.
New Orleans had ruined his career. They were so bad. But San Diego, that wasn't a horrible franchise. But I agree with you that when you go back, now you might be so good that you just have a tremendous season, but when you go back and play an extra year, they will over-scrutinize you. And they will pick out every little flaw in your game. We saw it, like you said, Matt Leinart. Yep. I remember in basketball, we saw it with Jay Williams at Duke, the point guard. That's what they do if you give them an extra year to scrutinize you. Because if you don't absolutely run roughshod, over the nation, then they're going to be looking at you side-eyed. So, yeah, I hear you. And like I said, to me, there's some things the Jets can do too, though, Rob. They could get rid of Adam Gase.
Yeah, what if they get a
hire
coach
Eric
and a general manager, and they get some guys with track records?
Yep.
And
now Joe
change
Douglas,
the scouting
people
department.
Think he's
you know what I
good.
mean? Right.
Yeah, I mean, they think he's the GM. They think he might be okay, but get rid of Gase. Gase has shown you, and I'm not saying you got to do it this week, but he's shown you he's not much. All right.
No, I'm with you.
If you go get Eric Bieniemy, who has been the OC for Patrick Mahomes, you telling me that Trevor Lawrence isn't going to look at that and say, hey, that's pretty good, right? So I think the Jets have something to do with this too. If they continue to get rid of their best players in favor of keeping Adam Gase, then you give Lawrence more ammunition to think you don't know what the heck you're doing. But if you make some of the right moves, you can actually maybe impress the kid.